All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. I am super excited to be here. My guest, Reese Sabatini-Blake, is here with me, and I am so grateful that she is joining me on my couch all the way from Canada. And so I'm super excited that she's here, and she's going to share with you who she is and what it is that she's about and how she can help you. So, Reese, take it away.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me, Tammy. And
Yes.
I use my training as an Indigenous medicine woman and my background in high-risk social work to help women eradicate the trauma from their lives holistically and to really reclaim their bliss.
That is so powerful. So let's get into it. How did you get there? I mean, what was your life like before you stepped into this amazing world of energy?
I would say it was a tumbleweed of trauma and triumph.
I love it. I gotta write that one down. That was good. I might use that. So when you started to recognize, because were you always at a space where you recognized that you had gifts to work with energy, or what did that look like for you?
I always knew. I was one of those even as a kid. I was born awake, as they would say. And from learning the gifts and the herbology and like even just holistically taking care of our bodies in a preventative manner instead of just trying to throw band-aids on illnesses, learning to live a better way so that you're not getting sick in the first place.
Mm. Mm, that is powerful. So was that a part of your background? Like, did you come from that? Like, was that in your family, something that was encouraged? Because I know so many of us, I've talked to so many people now, lots of people, I've interviewed lots of people. And so many of us coming into this world, we come from backgrounds where, the people are not really up on that type of stuff. And so I wanted to know, just how that worked for you, and how did you come from, like, where, people encourage, your expression of energy, and, they encourage, these gifts that you naturally possess. So share a little bit about that for the people.
I would say it was a bit of coming into it and then also like a bit of having supportive people because I both like my culture being indigenous, we're always taught the ways to live our best lives and be as healthy as possible. But I was also chronically ill from I being a toddler forward. So I had to manage all of the different holistic ways that you can manage your health while trying to live an actual fulfilling life. Even as a
Right.
kid, it was okay, manage illness or find joy. And
Hmm.
always walking that tightrope between complete exhaustion and, being medically sound or, being joyous and exhausted and
Wow.
sick.
So you kind of gravitated in that way to, trying to find, what was working for you. And
Mhm.
then you started, to see that other people actually needed the same type of support that,
Right. Well,
that you
and
found.
especially when things got worse for me, both through like other trauma and from becoming paralyzed as a teenager.
Oh, wow.
That forced me to learn how to rehab a body that I was told would never walk again.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
said, actually, I've been reading about this science for years. I know exactly how I'm going to rehab this body. Watch me.
Oh, that's powerful. That's powerful. So share a little bit about that journey, because that has to be so amazing, especially as a teenager. Because we've all read about what's his name, Dr. Joe's
Mhm.
journey. And that always is, to me, that's so inspiring, and I love that, because I believe, like you, that our bodies are, here to heal itself. And I'm actually on that same journey as well. And I know this, like I have all these doctor's appointments with all these ologists and everything, and everybody's all, "Oh." But
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm calm about it because I already know. I know that, I'm going to see the ologist and I'm going to see what they say, they want me to do, but I already know that, I will do what they say if it works for me. And
Yeah,
if it doesn't
exactly.
work for me, I'm not going to do that. I'm not having any surgery, none of that kind of shit. I'm not doing it. I'm just not. So I've have this peace about it, and it feels like to me that that is the space that you're in, where you have that peace, and then you also help to guide and help other people to experience that peace, where when they're coming at you with all these diagnoses and you're seeing all these ologists and stuff, and and it's like, oh, you got to go see the rheumatologist. Like tomorrow I see the cardiologist because of some shit that was going on after COVID, and I think I got to see an endocrinologist at some fucking point. And so everybody's going, well, you need to. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you need to chill out
Yeah,
and relax. I got this.
yeah,
Spirit has this. We're good. It is okay. And so for you to have that type of gift as a youngster, girl, that's powerful.
right?
You
I
know?
mean, if we really want to get into it,
Yeah, we
I
do.
I knew the week that we booked the revisive surgery on my brain to prevent epilepsy, that I was going to be paralyzed and lose part of my eyesight. I knew. I I was seeing it in dreams, and I was also experiencing it during the day when part of my body would go numb and I wouldn't be able to see past a certain point in my left eye. I knew. And then it happened, and everyone said, "You're not surprised." I'm like, "No, not at all."
Did you
I
tell
let the surgery.
anybody?
Nope. I kept
Okay.
it to myself, and that made my mother very angry.
Yeah, I
It
could
was
see
like,
that.
I would have appreciated the warning. I'm like, "No, it it wasn't your warning to have."
Yes. Oh, I love your boundaries. I love your boundaries.
Well, I've always had a push and pull relationship with my mother. There's always been very firm boundaries from my end.
Yeah, I understand all of that. I can, like the people say in mediumship, I can take all that. It's like, yeah, I can take that. I'm not gonna go into it because she listens. But absolutely, I can understand that. Yeah. So when you started experiencing that thing, how did your mind take you at in the beginning, even though you knew? And even though you realized that, this was something that you saw and this was something that, came through for you, how did you navigate that, especially as a teenager? Because, teenagers, you've been one, so you know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was hopeful that the outcome was going to be worse than what it was.
Wait, you said you were hopeful that the outcome was going to be worse?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that.
I mean, my life was not in a good way.
Okay,
I
got you.
I was in underage sex work. I was working. I was in school. I was living in a not great home.
So you already had so many
I
issues
was
anyway.
hoping the universe would finally take me out.
Oh, I see now. I got it. So
Yeah.
that almost, if you think about that, that almost was like a manifestation for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And I mean, when I sensed it, it was, no, I hope that this happens because this is gonna change everything, even if it's worse at the beginning.
Wow. And was it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went from competing martial artist with like great grades. Like on the outside, it appeared like a perfect life, even though it
Yes.
wasn't,
Yes.
to in a wheelchair overnight. I wake up the next day and I'm glad I was really high on painkillers because I was able to find laughter and hide tears. But I won't lie. I was incredibly suicidal.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah. 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 So is that what brought you to doing that kind of work that you did with the social work?
Well, that continued it. I had already been running groups as a teenager since I was a young teenager in
Okay.
peer support, like especially with queer youth because that was my niche at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it that helped me solidify like my training as a medicine woman and go into the physical body and not just the mental and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, how do I fix this? Because Western medicine has told me that I have no viable solutions here other than, exercise and weight.
Yeah. Yeah, that part. Yes, because Western medicine is I always say
Yeah.
often say that it's that too, but it's a compartmentalizing type of shit that goes on now.
Mhm.
They compartmentalize, like years ago, and I'm not even that old either. I just know this from, talking to people. But years ago, you had one doctor. That
Yeah.
doctor you saw for everything. And if you had the house call doctors back in the old days, they would come into your house and check all the things out and look at everything and all that stuff. And now you go to your primary doctor and they look at one thing, which usually is nothing because they ain't worth a damn usually. And so
Yeah.
you go to them, and then they do that. And then they send you to all the ologists.
Yeah.
And the ologist is only looking at this. Like, I'm going to see cardiology tomorrow. What the fuck is he looking at? Just the heart. That's it.
Yeah.
But your body is so complex and so amazing that it all works together holistically. But they can't even get that because they're looking at, this one is going to look at the endocrine and he's going to look at this thing on my neck, and then the other one is going to look at whatever the rheumatoid markers or whatever the hell this shit is coming through for me, and that kind of stuff. I had to actually get a naturopath in order to get
Yeah.
any fucking thing done because
Yeah.
my primary is like, oh, your labs are good and your this is that and that is that. Well, my naturopath ordered like some totally different labs that popped up and showed some shit that was going on that nobody even addressed in over almost 2 years.
Mhm.
And so I agree with that, the fact that they have compartmentalized and they're not even looking at your whole body. And fuck, I don't know about in Canada, but here they don't even hardly touch you anymore.
Yeah, that they don't. And I
That
mean, I
you
was
might as well do
also
Zoom meetings.
like I was fortunate enough to grow up with an old school doctor that I had for almost the first 20 years of my life as my
Oh, that
primary,
is fortunate.
that he would look things up and he'd be like,
Yes.
"Okay, if I can't figure this out, I'm gonna refer you, but first
Yeah.
we're gonna do stuff."
Yes, that's awesome.
And I think even as a kid, like that was my passion for like the human body because I either wanted to be in psychology or medicine.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of in both, even though I primarily function in like the mental health side of things because I find that it ironically it's easier.
I agree. I agree completely.
Like, yeah, you're traumatized, but let's work through the root of it.
Yeah.
Let's not even look at the symptoms. Let's look at the cause.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and let's get through it, baby girl.
Yes. 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 Because the thing is people are not looking at that.
Exactly.
Because they're not looking at you as a holistic human being.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, I'm having all these problems, but what's the root of it and why? And let's get to that and let's deal with that.
yeah,
Yes, the symptoms are horrible. Yes, I'm having all this fucking pain and all this stuff, but why am I having it?
yeah,
What did it come from and when did it start?
yeah,
So can we go into that? Because I know for me, Now, I worked mental health for years, and I have been in my other life, I've been a nurse for 30 years, and I did a lot of mental health. And so um, I love that world, and I know that in diving into the energy world with the mental health to me is like the best of both worlds, I think.
Mhm.
Because you can understand and it opens things up more for you. And then also you're intuitive as hell, so you can use your intuition to help the people with the mental health even problems too.
I
You know?
use my intuition an awful lot, especially when someone gets quiet.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, yep, what are you not telling me? Oh, that. So what about this?
exactly. So wait. So how are we talking about that? Yeah. I laugh about that because I say they're talking to you about one thing, but you're already hearing or you're seeing or the information is coming to you that's not really what it's about. It's
Yeah.
almost like people that are having problem with their spouse or whatever, and they're all upset about this thing here, but that's not really what the fuck they're really upset
No,
about.
no, never.
Yeah.
It it's actually you're upset because you felt that you weren't heard in that scenario.
Yes.
It wasn't that he went and bought the boat. It was that he didn't listen to your thoughts and feelings. Come on, Karen. Check yourself.
You're like, you know what? You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's like, and it's so interesting when you start dealing with people on that level. It's like, no, honey, that has nothing to do with that. That is completely, not even real, really. If you think about it, you're like, no, this is really what the real deal is. And
Yeah.
let's deal with that. And I find that people that are like therapists, like in the traditional sense, it's like people that are therapists, uh, and I don't want to bash therapists. That's why I'm taking a breath
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
before I say this.
Yeah.
But it's like, a lot of times they look at things in just one area, in one
Right.
way, and they're not like diving into, because to me, that's what I think therapy is supposed to be. But, maybe I got it wrong. I don't know. But I think it's like diving into, the root and the background, and I truly believe that that's why this arena that you're in is so amazing because you also know what the mental health issues are as far as what it can be and all this other kind of stuff, but then you also know the energy behind it, and
Yeah.
you can deal with that.
Right. Well, and that's why I'm really lucky that a few years ago I had 3 years of peer support group facilitation, primarily with high-risk youth. Because I know how to deal with the hyper emotional, like flip of a dime suicidal, like nothing's okay people. So when adults are like, "Oh yeah, I'm experiencing trauma," and I'm like, "Yeah, I can see that you're traumatized, but you're at a point where you're ready to heal from it. You're not in it anymore."
Right, because do you feel like, and this is something that I've thought about, do you feel like sometimes people they stay attached to their trauma because they feel like they need it?
Yeah. And it becomes a part of their identifier. And
Yes.
I mean, even before I found the actual modalities that helped me release or let go of what I still held on to, I presented as super traumatized for years, even into my early 20s,
I
and
can
still
see
do
that.
at times. Like
Yeah.
in the wrong scenario, I for life you will always present as, oh, super traumatized.
Yeah.
But it's that 98% of actually I'm fine. My life is good. I get to help some of the most beautiful people in the world just get back to being them,
Yeah. Yeah. And that feels like to me like the work that you do for other people.
right? Like I
Like you
and
shine the light.
I do it for them because I had to do it for me.
Yeah.
And once you get to a point where you've done it for you, you lighthouse.
Yes. Yes, I like that.
This is my freak flag. I can't save you, but I can teach you how to save yourself.
Yes, yes. And that's the part. Because what I find is, well, for me, I had to like shut some shit down, like really just stop and didn't even see clients or anything like that because it would trigger the fuck out of me because it's like they come and they want you to fix them. You know, they see you, especially if they see you online. Like I used to do a lot of like readings online and healings online and stuff like that and all that. And people see that and then they come to you and they want you to fucking fix them. And you can feel that in their energy, even on the messenger. And so I'm like, no, I can't fucking fix any fucking body. You know, I can help you and I can shine the light for you and I can give you tools and tips that, you know, you can help yourself. But that is not the energy that I can step into because, you know, I mean, I love Jesus, but I'm not him. You know,
Like,
so
well, in reality, we're not the healers. We're just the conduits.
yes, the
And
channelers.
that's why I hate that so many people call themselves healers and have prophesized themselves. And I'm like, actually, you should just be teaching, Stephanie, Regina, little George over there how to heal themselves.
Yes.
It's, hey, I give you the tools, you do the work.
Yes. Let me show you
It's
that
not,
this is possible.
yeah. And that's why people read my books. Like, they're like, Reese, this is your journey. I want to be healed like you, even though we know that sometimes you're a little crazy and you're wild on the internet.
And you know what's wild? Is nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, that is how I found you. Because
Yeah.
I seen you on Facebook and you said something, and girl, whatever it was, I don't remember now, but whatever it was, I was like, this girl, she's my people.
Yeah, and I can see the post, but I can't see the words.
Right? You're like, okay.
'Cause I've been extra wild recently and just saying the funny, crazy things that are why people love me. 'Cause
I was
like,
gonna say
yeah,
you're being truthful. And it's
exactly.
so little of that out here in these internet streets. Everybody lies, and then they, you know, and I laugh. I said people show like the very best of what's going on, but what about the bullshit? You know, what about the stuff that's not always beautiful? You know what I
Right?
mean? Even you know what I mean? Because I love it when people say stuff like, "Oh, you know, I got this new car," and blah blah blah. You know, but the other part of that is you got a $700 car note and you know you're trying to build a business and you're not really making consistent money, you know, so you know, I mean, is that a beautiful thing or
Or is it about to be repoed in 6 months?
exactly no tomorrow because you hiding it at your mama house. You know?
Right? Well, and that's one thing, especially as a business owner.
Yeah,
I don't believe in material possessions anymore
awesome.
because I know that it's all a facade. Like, yeah, one day all the money will be there. I will open my holistic wellness resort, but that will be when the universe aligns.
I love that, and the thing is you have a peace about it. That's what I feel.
Right?
It's like
Yeah.
you have a
I'd
peace
like,
about it because a lot of people say these things, but you can feel the energy behind it. They're like, when is it going to happen? I need to happen tomorrow. Yes, you know, it needs to happen yesterday, that type of shit. But with you, when you just said that, it's like there's a peace that, yes, this thing is happening for me, you know,
right?
but it's going to happen when the time is right, you
And
know,
I mean,
even beyond divine timing, it's just when the time is right, you know, when all the pieces have come together.
even the dream clients. Right? You get those that'll work with you for a short time, and then you get those that'll enter into a year-long signature program.
Yeah.
But they will come at the right time.
Yes. And that is the piece, you know, that I
Yeah.
see on you. It's like, you know, what? You know, and it's funny because that's the place that I have been working through like this whole year. That was the piece. It was like I just want to be in this space. I tell people I said for some reason for me in the last I would say 2 months, I had this shift where I said, you know what? I'm abundant,
Mhm.
and whatever I desire is here for me, in whatever way. And I'm here for it, and I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with if it comes today. I'm okay if it comes tomorrow. I'm okay if it comes next year or in 10 years. I'm okay. But I am abundant, and I've received it like in every area, here and in, business and even with work, because I still work, 2 or 3 days a week. I just started back like a couple weeks ago. And that for me, it didn't feel like failure. What it felt like is a way, and I tell people that's my side hustle. I
Yeah.
said it's a way to support the things that I'm doing without me feeling like my fucking root chakra's on fire.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that's the space. It's like, you know what? No, I feel like, I'm not in a survival mode. Like, I'm worried about whether I can pay my fucking bills or, you know,
Right.
pay the
Most
rent and
definitely.
buy shit and stuff and, and even buy classes, courses that we take. You know how we do. So, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm here and this is okay. This is all
Yeah.
right.
Right.
I'm
You can
doing what I
be
need to do.
anything you want in this life. I mean, look at me. At one point, I was a vegetable, and now I'm a woman.
I love that. That might be the name of the show. At one point, I was a vegetable, and now I'm a woman from vegetable to woman. I love it. So, going forward, what do you see for your future? What do you see for the future of your business and even your life, or whatever you want to talk about? So, what do you see going forward? I always love to ask people, and I laugh because me and my husband laughed about the fact that we had interviews with people that are like 12. My husband is over 60, and we interview with people who are like 12, and they say stupid stuff like, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And we say retired or not here, shit like
Right.
that. So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years, as far as, where do you see your business going? Because I know you have visualized it.
5 to 10 years, I'm gonna be fully operational in the resort.
I love that. A resort. And where are you gonna have the resort? Is it gonna be there where you are? Is it gonna be in, a beautiful tropical place, or
I'm I'm torn. I'm torn between, the Canadian prairies where I can throw it on a quarter section of land and really like build it out that way, or buy something and revamp it somewhere warm and tropical.
yeah, and that would be the thing because I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, I've been looking at land all over the world. I said I've been looking at land in Belize. I've been drawn a little bit to Belize, and so I've been looking at there, and I think I looked at some pieces on Costa Rica, and so I've been kind of doing that because I'm not really interested in doing like a resort, but I would just like a place to be, and
Yeah.
I love to do like to put like little tiny homes or something on it
Mhm.
that can come and visit, and like it's like people, especially I think about people that are like artists and people that are like us in this world where we need to get time away from society and
Yeah.
everything in order to be able to download and be able to replenish ourselves and stuff like that. And writers and sculptors and people that just want to go to some place beautiful and be able to create, because I don't know about anybody else, but for me, I create much better in beautiful spaces than I do in spaces that aren't.
Yes. I have to agree.
Right? So
Uh,
that part. So it's like, and so just that thought of being able to, create this space, where people can come and, get what they need,
yeah.
get replenished and, get healing and even understanding it, because that's a part of what I feel for you. It's like you help people to understand that their body can heal,
Right. Well,
to,
and I offer them so many different modalities.
yes.
I I mean, I even go into like a modernized traditional twist on like indigenous music therapy, which would be traditionally drumming. But I'll pick up a guitar and I will play through each key until there's a physical reaction within the person.
Oh, I love
And
that.
from there, in the key, we will find the rhythm, and generally they let it out, whether they say it, cry it, shout it. I
It's a
also want
release.
to do a lot more with my music,
Yeah.
but when the inspiration hits.
I was gonna say, talk about the music a little because I wanted to ask you about that when I seen you said something about uh your agent had found you some auditions or something like that, and you had rescheduled them a few times and all that. And I was like, okay, we need to talk about that. So what do you do as
See,
far as that?
those auditions were for acting and modeling.
Okay.
Um, well, and they will continue to be, but I have played instruments my entire life. I grew up in a musical family, and in the last, I want to say 5 years, I have rewritten the composition piece to an acoustic blues album 5 times.
Well, that already makes my soul just sing because that is my shit. I'm a music girl too. I love music. I played it. I sing, I love all of that. And acoustic blues is what you said? Yeah,
Hmm.
see, that's already my shit. I love that because I'm like, I just found a station on YouTube that is blues jazz. What does it say? Blues jazz, guitar and piano. That's what I said when I found it. And so I actually have put it in some of the backgrounds, kind of snuck it in there because you know how they keep messing with your music when you do the back,
Yeah,
And so I put that in there because it hasn't got no words. I'm like hoping nobody will, copyright it and all this stuff. But it's so beautiful and it's just smooth, and it's something about that acoustic blues, however you
right,
do it, And so when I heard that, I was like, dang, this is hot. It just popped up on my YouTube and I thought, so sometimes I'll put that on when I'm working, when I'm on the computer and when I'm doing stuff. And also, I realized that, you can use whatever music you want to for your meditation,
oh yeah.
and let me ask you about this. So have you actually heard the thing about Andre 3000's new album?
No,
Oh girl. So he created an album. He plays the flute on, he plays all these different instruments and stuff, because he plays a lot of instruments too, right?
yeah,
No rap. And so people were jumping up and down about that because they're like, "Oh, you're not gonna do anything with Outkast, and what about Big Boy, and da da da, and you're not gonna rap." And he said, "No, no, he felt called to do this music. Is what he wanted to do, and he had a spiritual awakening, basically, of sorts, is what it sounds like. He was in Hawaii, and he started playing this flute, and so he's done that on this album. It's on YouTube, and I found it on Spotify. I laughed. I said, I think Spotify is going to try to make me pay the subscription so I can listen to it without freaking commercials. But it's because it's a meditation type of music. Like I used it to meditate, and it's fire. No rap,
hmm,
but it's amazing. And so I was listening to it because of course I heard the commotion about it, and people were, because he's been interviewed. He was on Good Morning America, one of them shows. And so he was talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I knew that I probably would get some backlash from it, but he was like, but this is what I wanted to do. And it's so fire. You gotta listen. It's so good. So good. So good.
right.
You
When
know.
when I finally produce this album that's been in the works for half a decade, there will be backlash.
Well, please make sure you send it to me.
Oh, I definitely will.
Because I will definitely, pop it out there on all my socials because I love this kind of stuff. Because my thing is this kind of music speaks to people. It speaks to your soul and to your heart and to your, even to your body.
Right? Well, and this whole album is really it's written to survivors. because
Oh,
through each song, other than like the three love ballads that are on it, it's all really covertly written about trauma and abuse.
yeah, yeah, I could see
But
that.
it's gonna hit really hard because so many people are silently experiencing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, what? Okay. But you're
Yeah,
right. And it's like people are, and I feel like we're living in a time where people are ready to heal, and where they're ready to stop putting band-aids on shit and stop like I went for my back was bothering me because like I said, I've been in the nursing field for 33 years. So I've been lifting and dragging on
yeah,
people for all this time. And so my back was bothering me. So I went to the Western medicine doctor and they sent me to the ologist, whoever it was at that time. And so he said he wanted me to take these anti-anxiety pills
yeah,
because they found that the anti-anxiety pills will help with the back pain and blah blah blah.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, well, I've tried a few things and I'm not ever, I'm not doing any surgery. They've already suggested that a few times and I refuse to do it. Thank kiss my ass. I'm not having anybody operate on my back, no. And so I went and I started taking the pills. So do you know that one of the side effects is that they make you feel hella suicidal?
yep. Because that's what I experience on them.
And that's exactly what I experienced. And every single one that I've taken, because I've taken a few, because, you go in there and you say you can't sleep, blah, blah, blah. And again, they're not looking at the root cause, the fact that you work night shift for decades and that's why the fuck you can't sleep, or you have all these things going on, with you, and that's why you can't sleep. But so they give you a pill.
Yeah,
So each and every one that I have taken has made me hella suicidal. And I'm not like typically in that space.
right?
So I was like, even like Chantix, I used to smoke years ago. And so I took Chantix to try to stop smoking. Girl, that thing gave me nightmares so bad, so I would wake up screaming and running. So I
Damn.
said, this is not for me. So I realized I'm like, psych drugs are not something that fucking I can do. So I
Mhm.
have always typically found other ways to cope and deal with, those things that people take pills for. So
Right?
I'm like, I know that you don't have to have them. I said, because I've dealt with a lot of these things. And for me, I prefer not to feel suicidal.
Right.
That's just not a
Right.
thing that, yeah, I prefer not to do that.
I'm glad that that's not your kink.
Right? It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good with that. It's almost like I went to a thing. It was a cuddle party, and the girl was talking about whipping. What was
Mhm.
BDSM? She's talking about whipping and stuff, and I just looked at her and I said, yeah, I want to bow out of that. I said because my ancestors they got enough of that, and so I don't need to experience that. I said, and I'm a person I don't really like pain. I said that's why as bad as I want a tattoo, I've not gotten one. Because I don't want to sign up for pain. I feel like
Right.
I've had enough in my life till, I'm good without it. I'm really good. You know? So I was like, nah, I was like, my ancestors, they did that already. And so I'm not, interested in that. And she's like, oh
Right.
no, it's not that. It's really this and that. And I just looked at her and I said, yeah, but no.
Only if you're into it. Because
I
yes,
don't
like
know.
lots of people are, but then
Yes.
we have to respect everyone that's not.
Right. And that's what I said.
I was a pro dom for a few years in that sex work.
Oh, okay. So you understand that world as well.
I get that world for better or for worse.
Right. So do you help people that escape from that world or
Oh, I'm happy to. I I mean, even working with women that can openly admit they have trauma. Most of the time it's sex or relationship.
yeah, you're right.
Like nine times out of ten, like we end up eventually having conversations about all the way you can heal through intimacy. And sometimes that is BDSM, even if it's the light side where you drag a boa down a partner
Do
and
what?
just like drag a boa across a partner.
Like a snake?
No, like a feather boa.
Oh,
Not a snake.
I'm thinking boa constrictor,
Like a tickler, babe.
well, people do all kind of stuff. It's like,
Well, true.
okay, okay, you know, yeah, right. Oh,
Or,
I got that.
an ice cube down the spine.
Well, yeah, because you know what it does? It opens up your sensitivities
Yeah.
because people
Exactly.
are just like we talked about earlier, closed off
Exactly.
and
And
shut
it's the
down.
psychosomatic, however a person means that. Most people, it's not impact.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't like how inaccurately the BDSM community is portrayed in all of these movies where it's just whips and trains and cutting. I'm like, no, that's the extreme side of things, guys. There is 99 other shades, at least.
I've seen stats because somebody else was talking about those the things they make with the resin.
Hmm.
And I was like, that is wonderful. And if that's what you like, have at it, do your thing.
Yeah,
But for me,
no,
not that's not the type of situation that I, want to,
exactly.
and it's okay.
And that's where like it comes down to bodily autonomy.
Yes.
I I
Oh,
won't I won't list them, but there are only 5 things on my hard no list. And that surprises people until I remind them a decade in sex work.
so okay. So how did you get into that?
Honestly, I was around the wrong crowd that held a secret over me when I originally wanted to get into a light entertainment scene in my young teens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Because that's always a thing that I wonder, when I hear that people were involved. And I had interviewed another young lady, and she was dealing with that type of stuff. She actually was trafficked,
yeah.
and it was in Georgia, like in Atlanta, which I mean, they traffic everywhere, but people just don't realize that it is everywhere.
It's literally every city in the world.
Yes, they think it's just oh, down in the Middle East or in Mexico or whatever, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something that's I'm very passionate about. Like anytime someone mentions even light domestic violence, I'm like, okay, so do you have the plan to get out, or am I going back into social work for free? Like,
Right.
are we gonna figure this out? Do I have to figure it out for you? Or what's the plan?
So now, have you written a book about that?
I talk about the sex work and everything else in my second book. The first book is primarily about the first 3 years of my paralysis recovery when I was 16.
And that's huge and that's amazing because you know as we already talked about Western medicine, it's like when they say there's nothing we can do,
Yeah.
or this is going to be like you're going to be like this forever. And
Mm.
I laugh about it because my husband is the type where like we go to the doctor and he's getting older, and so as you get older they try to find all kind of diseases and conditions to put on you,
Hmm.
and then of course they want to add more pills and all this stuff and everything. He's like, no, 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 I know my body. I need to lose some weight, blah, blah, blah. I need to release some of this weight. And I know that's going to be a difference and da, da, da. And no, I'm not doing all that, but they get upset when we advocate for our bodies and for ourselves.
Hmm.
Especially I've learned with Black and brown people,
Hmm.
they think we should just accept anything they say. And I'm like, no, like they told me, oh, she said, oh, you're pre-diabetic. I said, no, the fuck, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Appreciate you. But no, I'm not. And no, I'm not doing that. My provider got upset with me because I told her I wasn't taking this pill that they were trying to give me, that nobody could give me a reason why they wanted to give it to me. And what was it going to do? Because they didn't know what was wrong. So you don't know what's wrong. So why the fuck are you giving me some shit?
Yeah.
You
I
know, and
mean,
I was like, no.
even the supposed epilepsy that we were stopping the seizures from was actually misdiagnosed fibromyalgia. And they didn't get that diagnosis right until 20 years after the initial diagnosis.
Did you say 20 years?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I had actually probably the opposite type of situation with the same thing.
Yeah.
Fibromyalgia, they diagnosed me in 2010, and my naturopath is saying that probably it was chronic fatigue even back then.
Yeah.
Didn't know because didn't know, never knew I had that ever. But when they did the labs that she asked for, that my doctor didn't even, you know, but she asked for these labs, it came back that I had like a fucking huge ass amount of Epstein-Barr virus in my system. And so she said, I would be willing to wager that probably even in 2010, when you got that diagnosis, I said, because how I got it was I was having these pain crises. Like I would because I worked a lot. I used to work a lot, like all the time, two and three jobs, always a job and a half at least, And so I would have these pain crises where it would be like the whole week, like I'd be out for the weekend and I literally would have to stay in bed. I couldn't even get up out of bed. I would have vertigo so bad I couldn't stand up straight. Like I have to crawl to the bathroom, and pray that my children would come by when they were grown and see if they can give me something to eat or call them and say, hey, I'm gonna call in this, go pick this up for me. But yeah, and it would be like 3 days where I just could not fucking get up. I would basically be in the bed. And so finally I went to the doctor and I said, listen, this is happening to me and da 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 da. And so she was like, she did some labs or whatever with really nothing. And she's like, I think it's fibromyalgia. And so that was what that was at that time. She gave me some pain medicine. Matter of fact, she gave me Vicodins and that worked sometimes. I stopped taking it, like now I rarely take anything. I got some baclofen and I take that like if I can't hardly stand the pain. Like every now and again, I have this situation where I'm hurting so bad, I can't hardly stand the pain. My hands hurt, my feet hurt, everything. And so I take that just for that at those times. But I'm a cannabis girl too, so I do my edibles. But yeah, so I realize now that they don't even always know. And 20 years of a misdiagnosis, good God Almighty. 20 years. And then you had surgery because of the misdiagnosis, right?
Yeah. The misdiagnosis, the two surgeries, the one that paralyzed me, and it was 8 years after my paralysis that I had finally a different doctor. And I said, these are all my symptoms. It is fibromyalgia. She ran labs. You were right. I'm like, I knew I was right. I'm an
Yeah,
indigenous medicine woman. That's why in this space you call me doctor.
I love it. I love it. I
And
love it.
I'm fortunate enough to have Western professionals that are like, we know your training. Hi, doctor.
That's
But
awesome.
I don't function in a hospital. And I primarily work in mental health because it's it's just too complicated otherwise.
I was gonna say, and that's probably the space where you're needed the most.
And and yeah, because most mental health professionals come from perfect white picket fence lives that don't know trauma.
And that's the funny part. It's like is kind of like what we were talking about, me and my husband with the people when you go for the interviews. It's like you have no clue. You ain't even lived
Yeah.
no life. You don't know. Or this is what I love, the background check stuff. It's like you ain't even been through no life. You 20 years old, so you ain't had nothing. You ain't been through nothing. You know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
or you came from, like you said, the white picket fence life, where trauma to you was getting turned down for a date.
Well, I was gonna say not getting your crusts cut off your peanut butter and jelly
Okay,
sandwich.
yeah, that too. I forgot about that. It's like, or having to eat something that you didn't really want
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah.
had chicken today, but they gave me steak. They're like, yeah, that's not real.
This is why you're my people.
Right? It's like, yeah, no. That makes no sense. Okay. But then you realize though, it's like
Yeah,
you pick it up and you're like, okay, yeah, so that they haven't really dealt with, anything serious. So they don't really know, and I find that sometimes I had to get to a place where I wasn't judging those people because of that, because
yeah, true.
it's it's like the diversity and inclusivity stuff. I interviewed with Star Luna, and that's the type of work that she does. And so we talked, and she said, the thing that angers me is that, you and I could interview for the same position. We could have the same qualifications. And she said, and you lived a life, so she said, but they'll hire me.
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, that's pithy too. I said,
Yeah,
it's like when we do the trainings at jobs, they're like, oh, well, you got to do this diversity. I'm like, well, what the fuck is even that about? You wouldn't know the first thing about diversity and inclusivity. You have
yeah.
fucking clue, and
Right.
and and that was the
I
thing.
really, I love doing those trainings when I'm the only person of color on staff. I'm like, I should be the only exempt. Thank you.
Right? Why must I do that training? That's what I asked
Right.
him one time. I
Yeah.
said, why do I have to do that training? I said, I'm a black person in America, and I've lived through what is that shit, integration.
Yeah.
I was integrated in my elementary school. We were the second class to integrate the elementary school. I said, so
Yeah.
I've lived through all that stuff. I'm from the South. I've
Yeah.
seen the fucking colored water fountains and all that shit. I was like, I've experienced a lot of things, in that arena. So why must I fucking do this? I
Right.
mean, I was like, I know how to do this because, as a woman of color, we are taught to code switch. We know how to
Yeah.
do that.
I code switch really well.
And you know what? They don't even see you coming.
No, because
Because they be like, oh, and I love that because, when you hear people talking about stuff, you're like, do they not realize that, but we all do it. We've been taught that to exist.
right.
You call, hi, Becky, how are you? How's everything going? I talk to people on the phone, and they have no idea a lot of times that I'm a woman of color
Well, exactly. And
because
and
we do that.
and my friends, especially in Calgary, they've noticed that it's very different when I talk to a friend of color versus when I talk to my white friends. So I'm like, because they're like, oh, like you're vivacious with your friends of color. You have 50 million shades of personality. You are the life of the party. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm safe with them. I know they're not gonna racially hate crime me,
You're like, I know who I am. I know these are my people.
right? I have black friends that let me use the N-word because they know of my race and like my background, and the only time we use it is when we're going back and forth saying, I love you, N-word, walking 3 blocks, just saying it back and forth. And then people are laughing at us because we're having a really awkward, hilarious moment of, I love you, nigga. I love you, nigga. Love you, nigga.
Mhm.
And you're just like, you're ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, and I'm also close to 30. Fuck off.
Oh my God. I love that because that's so I'm like, you know, when you know who you are,
Right?
you know what I
And
mean? And you can
I
be who you are. That's the shit.
I was so broken until I found out about the Nigerian piece in my Italian. When I found that out, my face made sense. And then I deep dove into the culture and I was like, No wonder I've always felt like Black culture is home,
Especially like the music, right?
especially the music and the food.
I tell you, and the funny thing is when you said that, so I knew that I have Irish in my culture, right?
Yeah,
And I love like the Celtic music. I love that. And I have always. And I never realized why. And I love like fucking fairies and shit. And I know they're all around me. And my husband actually now is like, I love him like, baby, did you see that? And he's like, yeah, I think it was probably one of the fairies. But I realized, that when I started looking at the culture, and I love to watch like I love all the fucking Viking shit and stuff like that, but
mhm,
I think that's a Gen X because because we're violent. But
yeah,
but, but I do, and I when you start looking at that stuff, because like I did my ancestry too, and that was all fucked up. But and I don't think it's completely right. I want to do the one with the
uh-huh,
tribes and stuff
yeah,
because the girls do the tribes and stuff. But I think that one is um a little up there, and so I decided to wait until another time to do that one. But yeah, because I'm like I don't think this is all right in here, because it didn't pull up that much of my indigenous, and I know I have a lot.
yeah,
I know this.
yeah.
I can tell.
So
You
am
know,
I.
you're like, yeah, I know that. I'm sure of it. I've
Yeah,
seen it, on both sides. But I was like, okay, it's okay. I don't think about that. But just the fact of understanding that piece of you, like knowing that, this is the reason why you've been drawn to this and you didn't even realize.
right. And it was funny because I had lovers and Black friends tell me all throughout my childhood, like, and teens, you need to look into your Black heritage. And they would be subtle about it.
Yeah.
But then I finally did, and it turns out that, like, one of my very close friends that lives in Africa and I are like, we're both Nigerian. And she's like, and now she just calls me bestie cousin.
Girl, I'm
I'm like,
looking at
babe,
your lips.
like, I don't even know how close we are, and I know that she's family.
I was gonna say, and that don't even matter.
Is these lips and these
Yeah.
cheekbones.
Yeah, I looked at all that. I was like,
Yeah,
okay. Like, all right.
right,
That's why I said what I said. I'm like, you can never tell because I learned that from working with the native population because girl, some of them will walk in the clinic and I'm like, okay, and me, I'm like, all right, or they tell me like, I would hear them and it was like, oh yeah, because you say, well, do you live on the res? Yeah, yeah, I'm from the res, and in such and such a place in Utah or Colorado or where the fuck ever, and you're like, oh, okay, and you look at them and they don't look a bit as I would think a native would look,
right,
because of
right,
course
right,
I'm looking at the vantage point from what I'd seen on TV and
right.
because
Like
I
the
wasn't.
Pocahontas narrative,
Yes, that's that bullshit.
and
I mean, that stuff,
yeah,
yes.
and that's the funny thing, because like because I was so racially misunderstood like my whole life, I can look at someone and have a pretty rough idea, no matter who they are. Like, okay, so probably part Brazilian, a little Portuguese. Okay.
Right?
Oh, like, oh, that one's definitely a mulatto like me.
See, and I think about that because like my son, so funny. I had a friend, I sent her a picture of my son, and she's like, "Damn, that's a handsome boy." She said, "What's his nationality? Because he looks so exotic."
Yeah,
And I said, "Got a lot of different things in him." I said, "Don't know." I said, "But you're right because he's got like pretty brown skin and curly hair and so he gets a lot of they think he's Dominican or Panamanian or something like
yeah,
that, and so he gets that." And I said, you do have an exotic look, and he's like, "Yeah, ma, I know, but I think about that and I think, when you look at people, because like I'm looking at you now and I'm like, I can see the exoticism in you.
right?
You know what I mean?
I,
It's like you got an exotic look to you and feel.
yeah, and when I actually spend some time in the sun, people are like, "Holy shit, you are indigenous and part black. You really tan." I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
What'd you
But
say? You don't have to go to the tanning bed. Or you don't have to spray it on you.
no, I just usually have to lay in the sun for 3 hours and I'm good for the summer,
And now that's pretty good because at least that lessens your chance of cancer.
right?
Only
Well,
3 hours.
and I mean, even this year I was sick for 10 weeks straight. Like I didn't exist this summer. I was in a flare.
Damn. 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
Oh, girl, that's a long time.
Yeah. I actually thought I was dying this time.
I was gonna say, but not really though. I say that, but it's not really that long because I did that for almost a year. Same thing. There were
Well,
times
then,
where I was like, I think I'm just don't want to live. I would like to just lay down and go to sleep. Now I don't want to kill myself, but I
yeah.
was like, I think I just need to take a break. Take some time off.
Well, and it wasn't I want to take myself out, but it was if my body gives out in this moment, this is okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's an extreme level of peace on all levels to have at
Mhm.
my age.
Yes, absolutely. I,
And
I I
most
agree.
people read it as an extreme level of arrogance when it's actually no, I've done what I came to do here. When the time is right, I go.
You know what? And you're right, because I think about that in terms of actually I just was having the same discussion with my husband about Nipsey Hussle. Because I said, people said, oh, it's so tragic that he died, blah, blah, blah. And what
Mhm.
was the other one that I was talking about with that? Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was talking to somebody and I said, I said, because nobody dies of colon cancer that has fucking money. Because it's one of the most treatable cancers that you can have. Because
yeah,
typically, if they find it early enough, they do a resection. You have so much colon, you can lose some. It's fine.
yeah,
So they do a
exactly.
little resection, take it out, and you're usually good, right? And so I thought, for him to die of that at the age that he was, he did what he came here to do. And I said, and if you look at his life and how he was, every time he turned around, he was in something, right? And it's
Yeah,
almost like he was creating his legacy.
yeah,
Like every time you turn around, you look up and Chadwick Boseman's over here, Chadwick's in that, blah, 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 blah. Black Panther, da, 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 all these things. And so, but you realize that, that was his work,
yeah,
and that was his mission and he completed it and that's why he's gone.
yeah,
Same thing with Nipsey. Nipsey, did his thing or whatever. And, yes, we hate that he died and it was a tragedy. And he was such an amazing young man, but his mission is complete. And that's why he had to go. And I think about that with so many people, what's my basketball player? Kobe.
hmm
Girl, so many of those that hurt my heart. I was like, Lord, and even Michael Jackson and Prince, and it's like their work, was done, even though we would like for them to stay longer. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But it's like
yeah,
when you start to see that and you start to feel the energy around that stuff, then you recognize and you realize, okay, yeah, that their mission was complete. Everybody is not going to live to be, 75, 100, 110 like people are living these days.
yeah,
And then sometimes I think it is that this world can be so crazy and complex that people get released from it
yeah,
that don't need to be in that energy.
yeah,
And I used to not think like that, but it's like over time as I've been growing and studying and learning and receiving and in this space where I can receive the channel messages and all these things and things are coming. um I saw that. I was like,
yeah,
and so it gives you that peace, just like you were talking about. It gives you that peace where you know you're okay because you did what you came for.
yeah,
And if you go tomorrow, you're fine with it. Other people may have issues, but that don't got nothing to do with you.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's
Like
their shit.
Yeah.
So that,
And like, believe me, I don't want to go.
no,
I would love to be able to help like a million people in this life.
yes, yes,
But then I
yes,
have to do more in books and more in music
yeah,
to get at that level of reach.
right. And that's okay because it's
Yeah.
possible. That's the part. Okay, we're gonna land this plane. This has been an amazing conversation. I could talk to you for probably a couple more hours, and we may do it again and do that. But I
We might
wanted to
just have to.
just, we really do, because we didn't really even touch the surface of some of the things I wanted to talk about. But one of the things I ask every guest is, if there is one thing in the world that you would like to change, what would that be?
It's really cheesy, but world peace.
Actually, no,
Like
it's not.
we don't have to hate one another. We can just accept differences
Yes,
and exist. You don't
yes,
have to choose violence
yes,
unless it's comical and not real violence.
yes. I agree. That is amazing. I love that answer because Lord Jesus, I think about Rodney King, and the mortal words of Rodney King, just can't we all just get along?
Mhm,
Can't we all
mhm.
just get along? Can we stop all the bullshit? Can we stop all the division and divisiveness and all that stuff of, you look like this, or you act like this, or you do this, or you're in this community and that community, and why can't we just all get along? And I think about it in terms of like being a nurse for all these years. I've seen taking
Yeah,
care of every different kind of person, like every kind of person. And every kind of person bleeds red blood. And the other piece is, when you need some blood, are you going to ask what color they are, or what's their nationality? Or, did they come from, money, or, the streets? Are you going to ask for any of that shit? No, you're going to get that damn blood so that you can live. You
actually, Tammy, I only want black blood.
you can't always
I
go
know.
into like that just
I know.
because, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I mean, you can't always, because they don't even classify it like that.
Well, exactly, because it's
And you
just,
think about it,
a AB positive, whatever.
right?
Like,
It's
I don't
like,
even
but think
classify blood.
about that though. Think about that. They
Yeah,
classify everything else.
exactly.
When you fill out your applications, you got to put, what's your race, and if you're indigenous, I mean, no, here it's Hispanic. Are you
Yeah,
Hispanic? And what's your nationality and all this stuff. But in the blood, is it AB positive? Is it A positive? Is it O positive, O negative, AB, whatever? That's how they classify that.
they
So
don't even care what's in your pants.
hell no. So why not? Why can't we just go there with everything
Yeah,
else?
yeah,
So that's my thing that I wish, we could change.
yeah,
It's racism, because I think that, if we would just get rid of that, because it wasn't always a thing. If you start studying, you go back and study, like back in the 14, 1500s, and even before
yeah,
then, they didn't give a fuck about that. Everybody was everybody.
yeah.
You had black people that were kings and queens and all these other things that they're colorizing, that they colorized. Like they took their color away from them, and all of a sudden, they're lily white, and they weren't that. But you didn't have that back in those days. So why now? Why are we still with that bullshit?
Yeah,
And it's like, let's get over that, and let's move past that, and let's get to the energy part of it.
yeah,
Let's deal with people on the energetic level, so that we're,
exactly.
yeah, instead of all this other bullshit that means nothing, you know. But anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm gonna get off it. But I want to thank you for joining me today, because this conversation has been so amazing, necessary, phenomenal. And I hope that, when people listen, that they're able to hear your heart and see your spirit the way that I have today. And I really believe that the work that you're doing is so transformational, and that we need it so much in this world. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that you came today to share because you have so many stories. And how many books have you written?
Just two. The second one was released on April 20th this year.
Did you say just two?
Yeah, just two.
So you want to grab those. I think that the links will be in the show notes so you can grab those as well. In any way that you want to connect with her, share with the people what is the best way to connect with you.
Well, it's easiest to find me on traumatobliss.ca.
Okay.
But you can also stalk me by my name on social media. I'm everywhere.
Okay, awesome. So she's everywhere. So you can find her everywhere. You can go to her website, traumatobliss.ca, which is, of course, always a good way to reach out to people. But definitely check her out on all of her socials. That way you can, get a hold of her energy and her awesomeness, like I did. So, I think actually we connected on TikTok as well, didn't we? I think so.
We might have, yeah.
I think I saw you popped up and I said, "Oh yeah, I got her." So I love that we can, gather, so to speak, from all over the world. And
Right?
that is so amazing to me. That's why I love these platforms. It's like I talk to people all over the world. I have interviewed people in Canada. Matter of fact, two in Canada today.
Yeah.
The in Australia, in the UK, in Africa. I've interviewed people in Spain and France, all over the US. I mean, it's just been amazing. I have another girl that I'm waiting for that is in the Virgin Islands, and we're gonna pop up. Matter of fact, I need to reach out to her again, but we're gonna pop up and do an interview, there. And so it's just amazing just to be able to just connect with people all over the planet.
The
So
unity is starting.
yes, it has to. It has no choice. We've got to do it. And the thing is it's going to take people like us, getting out here and sharing about this and talking about this and demonstrating that just because, you look like you look and I look like I look, we the same.
Yeah,
We are the same. And it's
yeah,
it's like, wow. And once you realize that, I think that's where the power begins.
exactly.
Absolutely. So again, thank y'all for hanging out with us. It's been amazing. Wherever you're listening to, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, which this show will premiere on YouTube in a couple of weeks, and I'm super grateful. And make sure that you are connecting with Miss Reese because she is an awesome person to connect with. Um, and I just appreciate, you listening and watching and, being a part of our world today. So again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And I hope that your day is magical every day. And whatever day you listen or see this is a magical day for you. And that you recognize that you are magical. So again, thank you for joining us. Bye now. So I have just finished interviewing my guest, Reese Sabatini-Blake, and she is such an amazing young lady, and she's doing such awesome work in the world. And so I would love it if you would go and find her, follow her on all her socials. She's everywhere. Facebook is where I met her. So she's amazing. She does awesome work and she has such a beautiful soul for someone as young as she is. And so I was super excited to listen to everything that she was talking about and the work that she does in the mental health holistic arena. So, again, thank you so much for watching, for joining me on Straight Outta Savannah. And if you are a spiritual entrepreneur and you would like to come on the show and get your message out there, I would love to host you. Definitely reach out to me on any of my socials. I'm everywhere as well. I'm Googleable. You can Google me and find me. You can email me. You can go on my YouTube channel. You could go on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and message me. More so Facebook or TikTok. I don't do a lot of Instagram, but I do try to go on there and check for messages. So, again, thank you so much for watching if you're watching on YouTube. And thank you for listening if you are listening on Spotify or any of the other podcast hosting platforms where you can find this show. So again, thank you for joining. And for those of you that aren't subscribed, make sure that you're subscribed, that you're following the pages, that you are subscribed to YouTube. I would love it. And I would love it if you would like and share it as well, because as the Care Bears say, caring is sharing. Sharing is caring. So again, thank you for joining me. Bye now.